certain but death and taxes. I personally wish that it didn't cost anything to face these two situations outside of the fee itself. This is the reason I don't raise monetary funds to run for this office. I'm enclosing a statement that stands on the front counter of the Treasurer's office. I wrote it in my first day in office, almost 21 years ago. I want to share it with you, hoping it will give charity to how I like to conduct business in this city that I have come to love. It is indeed a pleasure whenever the telephone rings or a citizen walks through our doors. This gives us the welcome opportunity to serve, assist, and hopefully make life seem just a bit more pleasurable when we have fulfilled the individual's request. We are indeed here to serve all that come into this office in any way possible. At the end of the day, the question is, did I lighten the burden in any way? Did I replace a wrinkle with a laugh line, even for a minute? Your elected servant, Eunice Wilder, Treasurer. For colored girls is the new kid on the block. We are hosting this debate, the people's debate. And most people, when they hear the word for colored girls, they think the word colored, they automatically think that the word means race. But it's not, it does not mean race. It means color and flavor, color and attitude, color and light, colorful and light, personality. It does not mean race in itself. It does not also mean that we are all girls. As you can see, Ricky, Ray, and we have another, two other gentlemen who are not here, but there are other men that are involved in our organization. We share a common bond. First goal is we add value to the community. We share a common bond also. We all of us have overcame major obstacles in our lives. We also share common beliefs by Frederick Douglass. And we believe this, that nothing sees power without demand, by Frederick Douglass. And we truly believe that. And that's what we stand on. What we're going to do today, we're going to start this debate with an opening statement with each candidate. Each candidate will have 4 minutes to speak. And then after, the moderator will ask each candidate a question. Then each candidate will have an opportunity to respond and a further opportunity to rebuttal. Then we'll take a short 5 minutes recess, and then we will do a final closing statement. During the final recess, what we would like to do, the audience, the community, you have an opportunity to ask your questions. So we'll be basically getting you organized during that recess to find out who wants to ask questions. So we're going to start this debate now. Get it rolling. We're going to Tish Cruchet, she's our moderator. We can start with Tish. And thank you. Yeah, because there's only a few.
Mr. Dorsey, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, 4 minutes for your platform.
Okay. We sit right here.
That's not over the reach.
I'll come over there.
Hold on, Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you all for coming. My name is Chris Dorsey. I'm running for sheriff in the city of Richmond. We've been running this campaign since 2010. We made an announcement in Monroe Park back in the spring of 2010 that we, the people, had to make a stand against the government that seems to be very interested in extricating every bit of work that we put in, and with that money, locking us up at an alarming rate. And we do have major issues with the government, with our society, and with people in general, in the public, I would say, not feeling that they have any sort of representation in the government. The law, which we were talking about earlier, the United States Constitution, we are all running for constitutional offices, which refers both to the United States Constitution and the Virginia Constitution. The law states all power is vested and derived from the people, and that without the consent of the government, there is no government. But I talk to people every day. I talk to groups large and small, and what I hear in overwhelming numbers is that people feel they do not have any say in their government. I comprehend the small and the short, the beginning and the end, why this is, but the point is that people don't feel they have a say in their government. They feel that the government does what they want to do, and that people are mostly the victims of the whims of a small percentage of very wealthy people that decide for the people what their life is going to be like. And what I'm saying is, when I'm sheriff of the city of Richmond, I will enforce the law, which enforces certain guarantees for everyone. That's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But it's not granted for me, it's granted from a higher power, because the Constitution says that we have inalienable rights granted by God. So, what I'm saying is, in closing, that when I'm sheriff, the people will be in charge. The people will be the boss. Not the other way around. Not a sheriff who is killing people in violations of Amendment 8 to the Constitution, and then on top of that, costing the taxpayers tens of millions of dollars to pay for his crimes. Thank you very much.
Before I get started, timer, I can't see those numbers. Can't see. I can see that a little.
The yellow
it.
means you have 30 seconds.
Okay.
The orange means that it's time to stop. And this is Shirley Harvey. She was out when we were getting ready to introducing everyone, and she is running for treasurer.
Well, she said it, so I don't have to now, right? Listen, it's great to be here, and I just want to thank this organization, Colored Girl, for giving us the opportunity to speak. And I should say this to you. We care about you because we are here, okay? And for that, we ask you for your votes. As treasurer, though, and I haven't been the treasurer of the city of Richmond, but I've been a lot of things involved with the city of Richmond, including assistant finance director for the Coliseum, Richmond City Council person, but a treasurer, and you heard what the what she read for the former the treasurer that's now, I should say former.
That's right, claim.
But a treasurer is an officer of government, corporation, association, etc., in charge of the receipt, care, disbursement of money. Okay. Now, what the treasurer does at the present time is to sell hunting and fishing licenses, to prepare a few taxes, to advise you on your taxes, and to notarize your papers. That's what a treasurer does now. That's not the definition of a treasurer. And when you receive a position as an elective office, you make of it what you want to make of it. What I want to do with the treasurer's office is to make it accessible and agreeable, as well as look after the needs of the people of the city. Right now, we have 26.4% of the people in the city of Richmond who are in poverty. You know, now poverty can send you to either of these two, to send you to the sheriff's office or to jail, because you do things that you don't want to do because you don't have money. But I'm saying to you, the city of Richmond has much available to them to help people in the city, and the people don't even know that it's happening. How many people know that the people who are sick, older people who are sick, can have an opportunity to have somebody come in their homes and take care of them from 4 to 8 hours a day. Lots and lots of senior citizens don't know that. Why aren't we telling our people that? Why aren't we telling you that if you pay for a car and you pay the taxes, car taxes, that if you sell that car, that you get your money back? But nobody tells you, so they keep it, you know? So I'm saying to you, there's just so much that this office can afford the people of the city if they wanted to do something with it. If you want to sit behind your desk after the tax season is over on May the 1st, that's when the state taxes are, and you don't want to have anything else to do from May the 1st through December the 31st, that's a waste of our money. And so I'm saying to you, I want to do more than that. You can come to me, and people still do. I haven't been on city council since 1996, but many people still think that I am because I go down to city council, I talk up for people, I, do everything that's necessary. People shouldn't have to live like this. And in this particular economy, when things are going bad, we need to turn this thing around. And we need people on who have ideas. That's the other thing I want to do, is to make sure that we have a suggestion program. Because all the people who are politicians, and I'm not a politician, don't use this to make decisions. We need to find somebody that's going to help us win.
That's right.
Okay. Want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Antoinette Irvin. First of all, I'd like to thank your organization for having us. We haven't had a debate, and I know that several of the candidates wanted one, so I appreciate your efforts in making sure that that came to fruition. I want to thank you all for coming out. Again, my name is Antoinette Irvin, and I'm running for sheriff in the city of Richmond. Currently, I am the facility administrator in Henrico County. I've been in the corrections law enforcement for 25 years. I currently hold a master's degree in criminal justice administration, and I'm a candidate now for my doctorate in criminal justice management. My platform runs on the basic life, health, and safety of the individuals in the city of Richmond, which includes those inmates that are in the city jail. As we are preparing for a new jail to be built, or a new justice system, as the current sheriff calls it, we are preparing also, we want to prepare for the improvement of individuals. We want to work on programs to reduce the recidivism rate. We want to enhance the minds and the thought process of those persons that are incarcerated. We also want to make sure that individuals receive the proper medical treatment and mental health treatment. We have to be able to provide resources to individuals to ensure that they're better, that they can be better, that they can improve. The death rate now at the city jail is 2.5% higher than anywhere else in the United States. And that's an astronomical number when we're supposed to be overseeing and watching over the inmates in the facility. It's not that you receive treatment when there's no longer a need for you to get treatment and you're on your deathbed and you have to go out to the hospital. But if there's an injury or an illness, it needs to be treated at the point of impact. And that's what we're there for. We want to make sure that our staff members are trained to be able to identify these issues, whether it's the staff members that are deputies or the staff members that are contracted, such as medical and mental health. We want to make sure that those individuals are capable of being able to identify issues that individuals are having so that we can provide the proper treatment and resources to make them feel better or make them better people. We want to make sure that the educational process, whether it's vocational, whether it's therapeutic, we want to make sure that individuals are provided with resources while they're inside of the facility and connect them with those resources when they're leaving so that they can continue to improve. We want working people. We want people to be able to go out and get jobs. Just because you're incarcerated at some point doesn't mean that you can't go back and own a business or make your business more prevalent. We want to make sure that you are able to provide for this community. We're all affected by those individuals that are incarcerated. Many people say, it's not my business, I don't care who goes to jail, until someone in their family, it happens to them. And we're all suspect. We all can go to jail at any time. Circumstances can make us make some bad choices. And we're all placed in circumstances sometimes that we just don't control, or we don't feel that we control them. So we have to ensure that we want to make sure that individuals can be prepared to take care of themselves, and that our staff members can also take care of them while they're on the inside. Because the individuals that come out, they're going to be in your community, my community. They're going to go to school with our kids. They're going to go to school with our relatives, they're gonna work on some of the same jobs, because some of them have jobs before they get to go in. And we wanna make sure they keep those jobs. We don't want people not working. As ironically as that sounds, we do not want people without a job. We want people to be productive. People make mistakes, all of us make, but we wanna make sure that we provide the proper resources to put people back out here in the workforce. Those individuals that are inside the facility, we wanna save the city money. Have them, they have skills. Have them to do some of these jobs that nobody, for some reason now, don't want to do. People don't want to do certain jobs. We all feel that we've overcame somewhere that we don't want to do those menial jobs. So we want to make sure that we prepare the mindset. It's about attitude and behavior. And we want to work on those programs that can help us find out why we do the things that we do and what can we do about them to improve. So that's my vision for the sheriff's office, and that's my vision for the city of Richmond. And I'm Antoinette Irvin, and I want your vote.
Thank you, candidates. We appreciate that. For colored girls, comprise the following questions from barbershops, community churches, and community members. I present these questions without prejudice, judgment, or socioeconomic biases. Bruce Western, a Harvard sociologist, told the New York Times, "Prison has become the new poverty trap. It has become a routine event for poor African American men and their families, creating an enduring disadvantage at the very bottom of American society. Corrections is the second fastest growing state budget category, and state leaders from both parties are now finding that there are research-based strategies for low-risk offenders that can reduce crime as far less cost than prison. Question with prison being a $6 billion annual industry on the backs of poor African Americans, what strategies have you developed or will you do to reduce low-risk offenders?" Either candidates can answer. Candidate Dorsey.
Yeah, I mean, this hits right to the basis of my platform. We live in a society that has the largest prison population in the history of the planet. And most of the people caught up in the judicial system are in prison, and they have not even actually violated any laws. They've violated statutes and state codes, but they haven't violated this. This is the law, and I'm going to repeat this because we are running to be the top constitutional law enforcement officer in the city of Richmond. And many people are in jail, in the Henrico County Jail and in the Richmond City Jail for charges, and I won't even call them crimes because they're not, such as driving on a suspended license, possession of marijuana, not paying child support, or not being able to pay or a fee or a fine, which violates Amendment 8 to the United States Constitution. Now, I will also take this opportunity to say that I have never been involved with an organization that has killed someone or is criminally and legally responsibly for someone's death as a result of a violation of the United States Constitution. All of the other candidates have been, and I will say, in closing, that all we have to do is enforce the law and give people jury trials. At the first debate, which was between myself and Antoinette Irving on 1450 AM WCLM, I asked Ms. Irving what a constitutional trial is. And I stated that no one but a few percentage points of the population gets a constitutional trial before they even go into the Henrico jail or the Richmond City jail. And I still have not gotten an answer that these constitutional officers or people who swear an oath to uphold the Constitution and then spend their time doing the exact opposite, shredding the rights of the people, locking people up at an alarming rate, all violating the document that they swear an oath to uphold. Now, I'm going to do nothing but tell the truth. This is the truth, that we are not enforcing the law, that we have the biggest prison population on the planet, and that people who swear an oath to uphold the Constitution, they make it so in violation of the document that they're swearing an oath to uphold. I don't trust people who swear an oath to do something and they either don't know what it is they're swearing an oath to or know and do the exact opposite. It's untrustworthy. And we're going to reduce the population of the prison immediately by giving everyone constitutional trials. And I'll just advise people to look into Article 3 of the United States Constitution to find out what constitutional trials, and no one at the Henrico Jail or Richmond City Jail gets one.
Candy Irving, would you like to speak on that or any rebuttal?
Are we taking questions now?
No.
Okay, see that.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I'm kind of in the middle of this and I'm running for treasurer. So I don't know if these questions pertain
No,
to me.
no, they're not being asked of you.
Okay, what I'm saying though is, you know, I'm just sitting here.
Well, let me ask you.
Well, surely you can have
Any
to swear
questions
to uphold the
for
Constitution as
candidate
well.
Harvey?
Yes. Are you
Okay.
proposing to have a different function for the jails? In other words, when people have violations such as not paying child support and things of that nature, are you suggesting that the jails should be functioning different and not house these people?
Well,
No.
No,
Excuse me.
yeah.
These questions are for candidate Harvey,
If you have any-
secretary. Does anyone have a question for her?
I raised my hand when he finished.
No. That will come later. But right now, we're addressing Ms. Harvey.
Yeah, we're gonna
here.
get to you.
Candidate Harvey. Any questions for secretary? No. All right. Thank you, Ms. Harvey.
I would like to ask Shirley a question. I've noticed I go to the treasurer's office a lot. I see Mrs. Wild, I know her. But so many services have been cut in that office, like the passports. You can no longer get your passports from City Hall. They used to do that. She made the comment when I asked her about the passports. She said that they had volunteers in there that were working with the passports, so they no longer have anybody to work on the passports for you. Then I asked her about, let me see, it was something else, and it was really important. But a lot of services have been cut. They don't have a notary in that office either, because when I go down there, like I'm laughing and talking to the guards, and people ask about notaries, they either send them to a funeral home or the John Marshall Court building. So there are certain services that people need each and every day that should be supplied to them, but they're turned away and sent to go somewhere else. What will you do to make that better for the citizens when they come in for those services?
Frankly, the treasurer should not be doing that, frankly. But what has happened was in 1970, the General Assembly took from the city of Richmond the real duties of what a treasurer is supposed to do. You want to know as treasurer whether or not somebody is taking your money, because you have no way to know now. You know, because the financial officer that is under the mayor is under his authority. Therefore, he cannot tell you what you want to know, because he has to first go through the mayor to make sure. As treasurer, you don't have anybody over you, anybody under you. I was on city council. I'm an accountant. I'm a notary. I know exactly what to do in order to find out what they're doing with that money. And that's my purpose, because we pay lots and lots of taxes. Over $650 million goes to the city of Richmond every single year. And we aren't talking about money from all of these other agencies like state and federal. We're talking about $650 million that we provide to the city of Richmond. And we should know what is happening with our money. If somebody is taking it away and you don't have somebody, an authorized person, to make sure what's going on with that money, you don't know what's happening. You don't know whether they've taken it or not.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes.
I've it's for all of you, and thank you for giving me your time for coming out. As far as like when you get picked, you know, and I hope the best man or woman wins. What are your oaths going to stand?
I'm a woman of my word, so I'll tell you what it stands for. It stands for me. My name is behind it, and I like my name.
I'll go back and answer the first question. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Harvey?
Ms. Harvey.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions? Candidate Harvey? No. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Candidate Irving.
Yes,
to
ma'am.
respond.
The question in reference to the reduction of individuals being incarcerated for lesser offenses, the goal that we have in mind is to connect people with resources so that they won't have to become incarcerated, per se. There may be some type of violation, and if there is a violation, we want to divert those individuals to places where we won't. If they're incarcerated, they can't pay bills. If they're incarcerated, they can't pay their child support. So we want to provide a system where individuals can be diverted to programming and they can still work, they can still provide for their families. Those individuals with traffic offenses, lesser offenses, we want to make sure that those individuals don't have to be incarcerated with someone that's committed murder, has committed robbery, those individuals that are going to be incarcerated for long periods of time. Because we're not making people any better if they have lesser crimes. We're putting them in the facility with individuals that's going to be there for over a long stint period. We don't want to make better criminals by putting people in the facility with individuals that just don't get it. If you are an individual that has committed a lesser offense, then we want you to be able to still be productive. We want to provide treatment programs. We want to be able to provide workshops for you. You know, why is it that these things are happening? If it's finances, if it's a problem of finances, we want to work with you on finances, job seeking. We want to work with you on substance abuse, domestic violence. We want to work with you on those type of programs where you'll understand what's going on and you'll be able to have better tools and resources that can provide an intellect for you so that you can continue to work or get a job, that you can understand why you're doing certain things with your family members or your friends or in the communities. Then you can be in that community and you can be a productive member of that society. There's no need to just lock you up. As you say, prisons and jails are big business. And that's a decision that's not made by the sheriff itself. That's a decision that's made by the community leaders as a whole as to what they think is necessary. We need to be building more schools than building more prisons. Because if we stop the problem early, if we educate our young people, and we teach our young people that they are valuable, we teach our young people that we care and that we love them, and we give them something to look forward to in life, then there's not going to be a lot of anger and dissatisfaction with what's going on in their lives to make them feel that they need to belong to that wrong side of the track. So we want our individuals that if we can build on people at a younger age and we can continue to build them as they grow in their teen years and their adult ages, we want to make sure that they know that we care about them and that we are able to provide resources for them to become better people and be substantiated in life. That's what we want to do. And we want to make sure that those individuals that have lesser crime or lesser offenses, we don't want them to be in a situation where they're going to be harmed or placed in an unhealthy environment. We want their mind, body, and soul to be healthy. And in order for them to be healthy, we have to work on that. We have to give them a system of recovery in an environment that's not going to be overstressed for them or make them feel like they don't belong, that nobody cares about them. We want people to be productive. And in order to do that, people with lesser crime, as the gentleman was about to ask a question in reference to child support, you can't pay child support while you're incarcerated. So we want you to continue to be able to work, but you owe society something. So what is it that we're going to be able to do? We will connect you with a program, connect you with something that can help you continue to work, but still let you know that you have committed something, that something has happened, there's a problem with something you're doing, and we need to do better, and you need to do better, and together we can help you to solve your problem.
Thank you, Candidate Irving. Considering everything you just said, one of the questions, the Code of Virginia permits but does not require to charge inmates $1 per day to be locked up. With inmates already overburdened with excessive fines, court fees, child support, approximately $25 for indigent packages, many jobless, homeless, or coming from the poorest communities compared to Henrico, whom does not charge a fee. Do you think there's a better remedy that could be used to reduce the burden on the inmate? Either candidate can speak.
Yeah, I'll go first, and I'll say that I'm just going to quote from what the actual law is, and I'm going to read Amendment 8, which I referenced earlier. I'm the only candidate running for this office who has not violated Amendment 8 to the United States Constitution and gotten paid for it. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. It's just a couple sentences, but all of my opponents violate that part of the law on a daily basis, and they get paid a lot of money to do so. You know, we are building bigger jails and smaller schools and closing schools down. So what I would say about that is that, you know, lip service is one thing, but everything, all of the opponents, of my opponents, I should say, in this race, are basically railing against and speaking out against what they do every day and get paid for it. So when someone says that I'm saying that no one should go into a jail because they can't afford to pay a fine, it's not me that's coming up with that idea. It's the law. And as I said before, everyone has to swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. So it doesn't matter if we separate maniacal criminals, which are a small percentage of the jail population, from single mothers who are trying to get their children from daycare to school and get pulled over in Henrico County and wind up in the jail and then catch a disease, or are separated from their job and their children. What I'm saying is we're not going to separate them from crazy killers and criminals. That's obvious. We're going to do everything competently and the most rational manner, but that includes not putting people in jail for things that are not violations of the law. We're not going to increase, or decrease, I should say, the number of inmates in a jail by just separating them and compartmentalizing them. And it says in the law that you can't charge excessive fees and fines, which is referenced in the question. But like I said, that's all my opponents do. And the one who's most chicken and who didn't show up at any of the debates, Kizzy showed up, he was forced. Irving showed up, she showed up twice. He's guilty of violations of the 8th Amendment that have violated in deaths, and it's by the dozens, not just a few here and there, and it's costing the taxpayers millions. We're going to stop it. It's not going to stop with any of my opponents, though.
The question talked about charging fees for individuals that are incarcerated. Since Mr. Dorsey has brought up the fact that I don't work at Richmond, I do work at Henrico, and we do not charge inmates or individuals fees for being incarcerated. One of the things that we're looking at is to have the inmates or individuals to be able to go out into the community and do jobs. That also helps them when they're going to be released. So we want those jobs, again, those jobs that no one wants to do, or that the city is paying out an astronomical amount of money to get done. We can have the inmates to do those jobs. It is provided that, you know, in the prisons or in the jails that you can pay inmates for work. A lot of institutions have gone away from that, but some of them still do that. But actually charging inmates to be incarcerated, the facility that I work in, we don't do that. You know, that expense, we don't charge $25 for an engine pack. I thank you for bringing that up. But we don't charge for that. We feel that our inmates are supposed to be taken care of. And we treat our inmates like customers. They're individuals. They're someone's son, sister, brother, mother, father, grandparent, whatever it is. They belong to someone else, someone's family. And we want to treat them in a humane way. And we want to reduce that amount of stress, not just on the inmate itself, but on the inmate's family member. A lot of family members don't even understand what goes on within the facility with their individual that's incarcerated. We get calls all the time about what's going on with my son or what's going on with my wife. So the stress for the family member is something that we have to also look out for by treating them humanely. And if we're qualified and we're observant and diligent in the job that we do, we can provide services for these individuals. And we can also communicate with their family members to let them know what's going on. It's not a fact of charging them to reduce the expense of what the cost of an inmate is. It's an obligation to provide them with an appropriate service. And again, it goes back to basic life, health, and safety. And that's the job of the sheriff's office or any department of corrections that we have in this United States, is to provide basic health, safe, and security for those inmates. We want to make sure that they can be better people when they leave out. We want them to be as healthy as they possibly can. Yes, some of them do come in sick. Some of them even are more healthier when they get out. But we want to make sure that we provide the appropriate services for individuals that are incarcerated, and we don't feel that they should have to pay for them. There are some individuals that are not indigent that can far exceed any payment that you put on them. And those inmates should be treated just like any other inmate, which is fair, respectful, and professional. And that's the way we treat inmates, and that's the way inmates should be treated.
Thank you, candidate. Considering that the population in the jail at this point, believe a large amount of people that are there. Now this comes from the public, and the vernacular and the grammar is going to be off because this is the way it was put to me. We know that substance abuse and mental health go hand in hand. Considering the NIDA research numbers, they said 80% of persons with substance abuse has mental health issues. And consider the large population in the jail. What would you do to educate the employees there? Because from what we understand and we've read, there's little education in both areas. But you mentioned earlier that a large population that does, it really hits on mental health and substance abuse. So if you don't have a trained employee base, how do you help your inmates?
The way we look at that is to train. And the current facility I am in, we spend a lot of time training our staff members on working with mental health and substance abuse individuals.
Do you agree with the statement?
With the statement that the majority of the individuals that are incarcerated have some type of mental health issues, are on some type of drug for treatment,
And are in need
of treatment.
In debt service.
And it's been said that either they're on drugs or they need to be on some type of drug in order to treat what the problem is. And that's a large factor. The mental health community says so, substance abuse community says so, that a lot of people have, because a lot of our individuals that are incarcerated has some type of substance abuse problem. And as we know, substance abuse oftentimes, more than few, lead to some type of mental health issues. However, there are some individuals that is not because of substance abuse, but that substance abuse may also be not a direct result of themselves, but it may be a result of their birth from their family members, as a contingent from I hate to say it this way, but a mother that was on drugs, or a father, or someone and that trait goes into that young person. So the majority of them are. And we have to be educated and diligent in our efforts to treat, to provide treatment, and we have to be observant. We have to train our staff. It's critical that we train our staff to be able to work with certain type of inmates. In our facilities, certain staff members that are hired, until they are trained to work with our mental health population, they don't work with that population. Certain staff members, they're new staff, they don't work with new inmates that are recently incarcerated, because they're not trained to the point to be able to see and know the different behaviors of individuals. So we have to be able to pick up on that. If you can't pick up that there's a problem before that problem arises, then there's going to be an additional problem. So we train our staff to do that. And that's the same type of avenue that I'm planning to take, and that I will take, is to make sure that staff members are trained. We have individuals at the Richmond Sheriff's Office that you can't track their training. You can track the training of the individuals that work at the facility that I work in. We're training. We're trained, specialized training on a regular basis to make sure that we can deal with individuals with substance abuse, mental health problems, anger management problems. We're trained to take care of that. So, yes, that is a problem, and yes, we need to be more diligent in making sure that we can take care of that. Do those individuals need to be considered just for incarceration? No, those individuals need to seek treatment. Treatment is the answer, not incarceration. Even though we have a lot of mental health individuals that have committed a crime. And I'm not just talking about shoplifting or not paying their child support. Some individuals have committed murder. They've committed robbery. They've committed rape. But was that a result of their situation, of their illness? And we need to treat the illness. And that's what we have to do in order to reduce the amount of individuals that have mental health problems. We have to treat that illness, and we have to attack that illness at the beginning. Not once they're locked up for 5 or 6 years and then realize, oh, this person has a mental health problem, we need to treat that problem. That problem needs to be treated at the beginning. And we have to make sure that our staff members are trained to be able to take care of that.
Candidate Dorsey.
Yes, thank you. We need to talk about what words actually mean. You know, I heard the word substance abuse, and I heard the words mental health issues. And what I know is that whether it's going to the Henrico County Jail, going through the court procedures, and winding up being locked up against one's will, that doesn't do anything to help anyone. And what I know, and the elephant in the room, the big thing that we're all talking about is referenced by one of my opponents. And she said, this is a business. We treat these people like customers. And what the business they're selling is, you're locked up and we're going to make money off of your bond and your body. No one can get themselves straight or do anything to control any sort of mental health problem when they're going through the kind of treatment they receive at the Henrico County Jail or the Richmond City Jail. If anyone's gone through either one of those places, they can attest to that. That's fact. And it's big business. Big business in locking people up. And we're not talking about murderers. We're not talking about rapists. Obviously, certain people have to be separated from society. And I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I am intelligent enough to know that I must hire competent people that get the approval of the community and the people. And that we must be completely transparent, unlike the Henrico Jail, unlike the Richmond City Jail, in our actions and how we treat people. Instead of covering things up when people die in the jail, or keeping cameras out of the courtroom where people who are mentally ill or mentally retarded are railroaded into the Henrico County Jail or railroaded into the Richmond City Jail. And what I'm saying is that we will make sure people get the proper treatment, but what I'm saying is everything my opponent is saying now, she's just repeating the fact that she's had 25 years to do it, and she gets paid on a daily basis to do the exact opposite. And above all, swearing an oath to uphold the Constitution, top constitutional officer, and again, she's not even sure what a constitutional trial is, or she refuses to answer the question that was given to her at the first debate.
Thank you, Candidate Dorsey.
That's right. That's right.
The only rebut that I have for that is how we treat individuals and how we train our staff in order to deal with mental health or substance abuse, or individuals that have substance abuse problems. We have crisis intervention teams that we work together with different agencies, whether it's a mental health agency, whether it's a substance abuse agency, whether it's the police department, whether it's the crisis center. We want to make sure that individuals are able to receive treatment. Once the individual is in contact with law enforcement, they don't always go to jail. We provide services to those individuals to send them to treatment. And that's what our crisis intervention does. We train our individuals to work with the law enforcement officers to use that diversion to ensure that individuals can go to the hospital to get treatment. And because again, we have to be able to treat what the cause of the problem is. If there's a mental health issue, and most mental health patients, unfortunately, have history, and most of the officers already know who they are. So instead of locking that person up and putting them in a cell, we take those individuals to the hospital so that they can receive treatment. And that's a goal, is to reduce mental health patients or people with severe substance abuse problems, to reduce them from being incarcerated, but to provide them with the service and help that they need. And that's what we're doing. And that's a goal for the Richmond Sheriff's Office.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure how this is going.
If you
Again,
If you
a
want
constitutional trial. Again, people getting fair treatment under the law. What we have now is people being railroaded into the largest prison population on the planet. We're not just talking about everyone who's locked up in that jail is not locked up in Henrico or the city of Richmond because they have any sort of mental illness or because they have some sort of substance abuse. We're talking about poor people being locked up because they can't pay fees or fines. If we want to talk about people with substance abuse problems or people with mental illness, we would probably have to talk about people who kill other people, taking away their rights, withholding medication, being defendants in dozens of court cases, which are, all of my opponents are working for organizations who are being sued because they have killed people as a result of violations of the law. Now, we're not talking about that because these people who are in charge of the jails, they have substance abuse issues. They have mental illness, meaning that they violate people's rights, victimize people, allow a system where people are raped, withheld medication, put in inhumane conditions. I would say those people have mental health issues, and the other people are just struggling with the treatment that they're getting in the jail or in the hospital. But what I'm saying right now is that the people at the top of the government, they're the ones that kill by the millions. The people at the top of the government, the judges, the congresspeople, the senators, they're the ones with mental health issues. And I know all of these guys. You all know I know all of these people. They're all boozed and coked out of their mind. And I'm talking about the senators, the city council people, the judges.
Come on.
Everybody knows that. Come on, we're not going to pretend like everything's honky-dory when it's certainly not. We're not going to pretend like things are not happening right in front of our faces. I'm not going to allow it. But again, what's a constitutional trial? This is not the first time we've debated. Is that true, Ms. Irving?
If you would like to answer.
We didn't have a debate. I was asked to come to a radio show, and yes, we did have a conversation in reference to the sheriff's office, the city jail, and he wanted to know things about the U.S. Constitution. I advised Mr. Dorsey at that time what the role of the sheriff's office. I advised Mr. Dorsey at that time what the role of the sheriff is and what we do as sheriff's staff members. We wanted to make sure that what happens is there's an agreement. The sheriff is the highest constitutional officer in the city or in that particular jurisdiction. The sheriff's office actually deals with the housing of inmates in the facility, the serving of civil process, and the management of the courts. The court system itself, the judges that are also appointed by the people, are the ones that deal with the sentencing of individuals that become incarcerated.
Thank you, candidate Irving. We want to move on, but we want to still stay on topic. A gentleman wanted to know, is drug court funding, what are your ideas on that? Is it a viable means of treatment or assistance?
Is drug court working?
Drug court, yes.
Is
it working?
Is it
Or
Go
any
ahead.
changes that you may bring
You
to
go
it?
No, you go ahead.
drug court? The drug court system is fairly new. It's improving. What it does is it allows individuals to participate in a program of treatment, as well as to allow them to continue to work. It also allows, in some instances, a couple of different ways that the drug court works, is some individuals are incarcerated during this process, and some individuals are not incarcerated during this process. But you have to check in at day centers, or you have to, if you are incarcerated, you have to come in after your work, and you have to participate in substance abuse programs. Is it working? It's improving. It's a lot better than it was. Is it benefiting individuals? Yes, it is. And I would like to see drug court continue in the city. I would like to see drug court, more funding go into drug court, because it keeps individuals out of the facility, and it can provide more substance for the community itself, because it allows individuals to still be with their family, and it allows them to continue to work. And if most of the individuals that have drug problems are also connected to why they're not paying their child support, why they're not paying their fees and fines. So if they're able to stay out in society and work and receive treatment at the same time, then it's a plus. It's a plus for not only that particular inmate or that individual, it's a plus for their family, and it's a plus for society. So the drug court is working, and we want to continue to improve how drug court works and make sure that it benefits that individual and their family. Because the bottom line is to make sure that we have healthy individuals, mind, body, and soul.
Thank you, Candidate Irving. Candidate Dorsey.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and I like to just ask questions out loud sometimes as I'm thinking, and I hear words put together like criminal justice system, and they seem to speak for themselves, and then I hear things like drug courts, and I hear my opponent saying, well, these people, they're in jail for being on drugs, but they either are in jail because they're on drugs, or we need to put them on different drugs. So we need to comprehend like what kind of drugs we're talking about when we're talking about terms like drug court. We go to a drug store, but I would like to ask everyone, and I already know the answer to this question, but I will ask my opponent, what part of the United States Constitution says that people can go to jail for drugs, for using drugs? And where does it specify which drugs one can use and which drugs one can't use? And again, where is it in the United States Constitution that it talks about how court systems work and how a functioning judicial body gets its authority and power from?
Mr. Dorsey, I'll answer that question like this. The laws, the sheriff's office, and that's the office that we're seeking. The sheriff's office does the things that I just talked to you about in reference to the role.
Do you swear an oath to uphold the Constitution?
Mr. Dorsey, I allowed you to speak. Please allow me to.
Oh.
The role of the sheriff is what the role of the sheriff is. The role is to house inmates in the facility by whatever means. If we're treating individuals, if we're incarcerating individuals, the role of the sheriff is also to serve civil process. The role of the sheriff's office is to also provide security and safekeep for the courts. We're to provide basic health, safe, and medical needs for individuals inside of our facility. Our role is, the sheriff can also enforce the laws. The laws are not made by the sheriff, whether it's you, me, or anyone else. The laws are not made by the sheriff itself. The laws are made by the governmental entities. I am answering your question.
You asked the question.
If you ask me a question, I'll answer it. If you don't want me to answer the question, Mr. Dorsey, I will not answer the question.
But you haven't answered the question.
Okay, and I'm addressing my information to them, and I have 30 seconds. So that's the role of the sheriff. And the role of the sheriff, if there are issues with the laws, then those issues have to be addressed with the General Assembly. You know, that's why it's important for us to get out and vote. Not just for this office, but for every office. We need to vote in every election, not just for the president. We need to vote for our delegates. We need to vote for our congressmen. We need to vote all the time. We need to be involved in our political system so that we can get rid of some of these unwanted laws and unwanted rules and statutes that we say that are out there. We can't change things unless we take the risk at every election and vote for those individuals that stand for the things that we stand for and believe in the things that we believe in, so that we can right by society and stand right on what we believe in and have the Constitution written in the manner in which we want it to stand. It's not perfect, but we're not like other countries.
We want to move on. One question. When an inmate is released, if they don't have a home to go to, the Conrad Center has been closed. Re-entry is through Catholic Charities now and Daily Planet. Does the jail offer any services or other referrals when an inmate is released? And what responsibility do you take in that?
I'll go first on this because we go down and interact with the, I would say, people without a physical address because everyone has a home, and it's not necessarily the roof over their head. But what I would say to that is that there is a revolving door between the people without houses in the city of Richmond and the counties of Henrico and Chesterfield and the jail system. The jails are there for nothing more than to warehouse people. Now everybody that runs the jail or is the sheriff or is a sworn constitutional officer, they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. That's their job. That's the top job. So in fitting in with this particular question about the pipeline between the houseless population in the city of Richmond and Henrico County and the jail, there is no plan for these people except for to arrest them and lock them up and charge them excessive fees and fines. Now, we were down in Monroe Park yesterday, and I ran into one of my friends named Miss Betty. Miss Betty is in her late 70s. I've never heard her raise her voice to anyone. She somehow, for being in MCV and opening a book, ended up in the jail. That happens in Henrico very often too. People being harassed and charged with things like trespassing. And they wind up with a $1,000 fine. They don't have a house, not because they don't want to live in a house, but because they have no money. What I'm saying is that this system that all of my opponents work for is nothing more than a management control system for the poorest people in the United States, and it exists in complete violation to the law, not a statute, not an unlawful statute, not an unlawful code. I know the difference between these things, between a law and an unlawful statute or an unlawful code. And by the way, it is Article 3 of the Constitution which guarantees a jury trial for every citizen of the United States. However, all the houseless population of the city of Richmond who end up in the Richmond City Jail, pay excessive fees and fines, and then get fined more when they don't show up in court because they don't get the mail, because they don't have a physical address. They don't even have a jury trial so that they can plead their case. They're railroaded through by the Henrico County Commonwealth's Attorney and the Richmond City Commonwealth's Attorney, go to jail, and then have thousands of dollars worth of fees and fines waiting for them, and if they don't pay it, they're going to go back to jail, and they're going to get in more and more and more trouble. Not to mention, you know, trespassing. They're just living. This is our city. If somebody is a citizen of the city of Richmond, then they're not trespassing anywhere except for in somebody's private home. They need to have someplace to go, and not the Henrico Jail, and not the Richmond City Jail. We're talking about real issues, not parsing, you know, tweaking a system that's completely corrupt and morally bankrupt to the core. We need to talk about morals and values. We don't need to be talking about what we need to do in order to make people who shouldn't be locked up and paying fines pay less fines or be locked up less, which these people who I'm running against have no intention of doing anyways. They don't have any intention of doing it because they make big money off of locking your family members up, my family members up, and keeping our fellow citizens under bondage because it's all about the money. Everybody follow the money. Everybody who goes into that court, everyone who gets arrested, they have to be bonded out. I'm not in the bond business. I'm in the Constitution business. And, you know, we're constitutional officers, and I would love to hear answers about what section of the Constitution most of the people violate who are in the Henrico County Jail or even the Richmond City Jail. I would love to hear what part of the Constitution they have violated. Now, we're not talking about criminals. We're not talking about murderers. We're not talking about rapists. Obviously, they need to be incarcerated. We're talking about the average citizen.
Thank you, Candidate Dorsey. I'll repeat the question. When an inmate is released,
As far as individuals that are released, yes, we do provide resources to those individuals. We provide resources to those individuals. We have connectors for them in order for them to provide services to them. The accreditation process that we go through ensures that we provide our inmates at the time of release with resources to help them to get housing. We work with offender aid and restoration. You know, yes, we should have more housing for individuals that are homeless or transient. We do need to do a better job in the city, the county, the community, the states. Yes, we do. We need to do better. It's horrible that the population of transients and homeless, the poverty rate is going up. It's horrible that we have to deal with individuals that don't have. We have people sleeping outside of the White House. We have people sleeping outside of the Capitol. But what we have to do as an institution, the facility of the sheriff's office, facilities inside of the sheriff's office, is to provide them with those resources, connect with those agencies, community faith-based, community, local community agencies, such as the Color Bureau, to connect them with those nonprofits that are making a legitimate attempt to help people to improve their lives and improve their situations. But we have to, as jails and sheriff's office, work with those agencies, nonprofit, religious, and any other local agencies that we have. We have individuals that have private organizations that are willing to help. They're out there trying to provide for the poverty that's going on. But we don't always look for that. You know, we're not guiding them into the right direction, but we, as our sheriff's office that I'm currently working in, since Mr. Dorsey keeps bringing them up, we do that. We have a pamphlet that's about that thing. We sit down with them and we talk to them about that. We try to give them those resources prior to actually being released. We don't wait till they go and that it's time for them to be released and say, hey, take this and go out the door. We sit with them, we talk to them and give them some guides and give them a baseline of resources that are available to them. You know, mental health individuals that we have, we try to make sure that there's housing available for them. And not just housing on the street, but housing that is connected with the mental health community so that they can get the services and resources that they need and the treatment that they need. We just want to send somebody out on the street just to go out there and fend for yourself. There are enough people out there trying to do that on their own. So we don't want to release additional people out into the street and they don't have any resources. We don't want to do that. We want to provide services for individuals while they're incarcerated so that we can connect them when they get out so that they can continue to improve in their life and their livelihood. That's what we want to do.
thank you. We want to move on. How is the jail measuring success in their current programs to reduce recidivism? Currently.
I would say that judging by the numbers and the size of the new jail and my interactions with the current sheriff about what the plans are, which all of the other three opponents of mine will fall right in lockstep with, they're not intending on reducing recidivism because they're building a bigger jail. So they already have an overcrowded jail in Henrico and in Richmond. We have a overcrowded population of prisoners in the United States. So what I would say is that to reduce recidivism, we must reduce the amount of charges, which are, as I keep saying, in most cases, violations of the law and enforcement of unlawful codes and statutes that put people in jail that don't belong in jail. Now, as I said before, when the homeless population is out on the street, they're not doing any good. But when they're picked up by my opponents, the taxpayer has to fit the bill for them. And it costs, what, $35,000 a year, $40,000 a year? So guess what? How many people out there do you know that have $40,000 worth of living expenses? Not many. Where does the rest of that money go? I mean, it goes to people like my opponents, who drive around in fancy cars and make a lot of money to lock people up. That's their business. You hear it out of their own mouth. And I mean, I comprehend that, you know, there's multiple people, you know, competing with me in this debate because I see my opponent getting texts and I see the person who's sending them. But the thing is that I don't need anybody to text me anything. This is the law. I'll close by saying, again, this is the law. Have you ever read this document? Do you swear an oath to uphold this document?
I gotta keep it it can't be personal, just.
I'm not.
Yeah, but, you know, just.
Okay.
Okay,
I think Candidate Urban,
because I want to make, you
Ms.
know.
Smith told,
opportunity
Ms.
to
Smith's
respond.
instructions were that we pick the notes that we have. I get messages all the time, but I'm trying to stay with my notes that from what she told me I can do originally, I can do that. Because I have notes in reference to what I want to talk about.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
things that I want to talk about in reference to my platform. And there's nothing
Right, I
saying that I can't talk about my platform. So, you know, if you feel that my platform can't be on my PDA or on my phone, then I'll turn it off. My platform's in my head.
Well, just if I could respond to that
But
by saying,
let me go to Tisha's question.
because
In
actually
reference to,
you made a statement to me, so I'm going to respond.
okay, good.
I'm going to say that it's not about what I feel you can and cannot do, but what I am is pointing out what you actually are doing. That's all I'm doing.
These are
Thank
my
you,
notes.
Candidate
These are my
Dorsey.
notes, thank you. These are my notes,
Candidate
and I want to
Urban.
make sure that I answer the questions in the best possible way that I can.
see you receive the text.
Candidate
I
Urban,
get mail all the time.
how is the jail
Right on.
measuring
That's a-
success in their current programs? Do you have any idea?
As far as the city jail,
Exactly,
And the
recidivist,
recidivism rate?
what programs do they offer? Can you measure them yourself? Are they good, you know?
I can't speak for Sheriff Woody and his programs. What I can speak for is that there are several programs that are at the sheriff's office. There are several programs in the sheriff's office. Do we need more programming? Yes. Do we need more treatment? Yes. He's stating that he has more people in GED that's graduated from GED than ever before. He's stating that he has more programs for treatment than ever before. Some of the programs that he has, if anybody remembers, Ms. Mitchell had those same programs when she was there. She fought to work on those programs back then, and those programs have just been improving over time and over time. The way in which we measure our success, and I don't know if you can call incarceration a success, because the crime rates are not going down. Crime rates are not going down at all. So the way we want to look at our success and our recidivism rate is we want to provide individuals with tools and skills while they're incarcerated. That's what we want to do. We want to provide those programs and service for individuals when they're incarcerated, so that when they get out, they're already connected, that they already have resources. We want to get with individuals that have already been through this. There are individuals that have been incarcerated in the penitentiaries and jails for years, and they're out here now with successful business. You know, a lot of individuals that are incarcerated, their mind just wanders. They are the brightest people that you could ever talk to. They are skilled. They have hand skills. You know, we want to make sure that we tap into those things and let them know that you can use that thought, you can use your hands, that you can do those things in a more productive way. You know, to reduce recidivism, we have to allow them to know that they can better themselves, that there are jobs and that there are opportunities out there for them. And we want them to believe that they can succeed. And we have to do that with connecting them with businesses, connecting them with educational things. We want to connect them while they're incarcerated so that we can reduce the recidivism rate. How do we reduce the recidivism rate? It's to help people become better people, to engage them in opportunities, so that when they get out, again, they can connect with faith-based organizations, community organizations. They connect with people that need good workers. Inmates work hard. They're individuals. They're individuals first before they're inmates. So they work hard. They only want to do right by their family and do well for their family. You know, there are some people that just go way out there, you know, and they commit crimes for whatever reasons. You know, there are issues that they have. But there are individuals that think that they, you know, that's the means in which they have to survive. But we need to be able to and to feed into them that you are a good person, that you can do different things. We have to connect them with jobs. We have to connect them with better people. If we keep sending people back into the same environments that they left, they're going to be the same person that they was when they left out of that environment. But you have to let them know that they can have opportunity, that they can create, that they can become better people. So in order to reduce the recidivism rate, we have to increase the program, increase educationally and vocationally, and religiously. It's a spiritual thing as well. We want to make sure that they know that they're loved by individuals, that they have friends, that the people in this room alone cares about them, because we wouldn't be all fitting for the same job if we didn't care about what happens in the city. Mr. Dorsey has said time and time again, he wants a better city. I want a better city. And the means in which we do that is to speak out about the things that we feel are incorrect. And just because, we're running for an office doesn't mean that we like the things that are going on in that office at this particular time. It only means that we're willing to improve on the things that are currently going on at the sheriff's office and within the city of Richmond.
Thank you, Candidate
comprehensive
Irving.
plan carrying that out with oversight?
We take the questions.
No, we're not. And if she were in there.
I'll-
Thank you, Candidate Irving, and thank you, Candidate Dorsey. We're going to give each candidate 5 minutes. We're wrapping up, and then audience, and we'll be done.
You go right ahead, Mr. Dorsey.
You got
first,
3
please.
minutes. Give them 3.
3 minutes
Yeah,
each.
3
How's
minutes.
that?
To wrap up.
Yes, wrap up 3 minutes each. That's
Again, my platform is about basic life, health, and safety for individuals that are incarcerated as well as for our community. What happens inside the facility directly affects what goes on in our community. If we don't provide our inmates with the proper tools and resources and treatment while they're incarcerated, they're not going to be a benefit for society when they get out. We want to make sure that individuals can get the proper vocational and educational programs. We want to make sure that individuals can get the proper medical treatment and mental health treatment. We want to make sure that we can provide therapeutic programming for individuals, whether it's psychotherapeutic or whether it's mental health issues, mental health comprehensive care that we want to make sure they get. We want to make sure that individuals are treated at the source of their problem. They're incarcerated. We enforce the laws. We enforce the Constitution. We enforce the rules. We don't make the Constitution. The Sheriff's Office does not make the Constitution. We don't make up what happens. Again, like I said, if we want to deal with the Constitution, we have to deal with the General Assembly. We have to deal with voting on a regular basis. Vote at every election. Every election is important. That's how we change the laws. That's how we deal with the Constitution. That's how we deal with that. We want to make people better. We want to improve on the system. We want to improve individuals. We don't want to continue to warehouse individuals, as has been said. We don't want to just keep building jails. We want to build schools. We want people to build businesses. We want people to own their own business. We don't want anyone to have to work for the person that they don't want to work for. We want you to own your own business. And how do we do that? We help you while you're incarcerated so that you become educated, that you can become knowledge, and you use the skills that you have in order to be a better person and to become a part of a productive society.
Thank you, Candidate Irving. Last one, Candidate Dorsey.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank you all for coming out today, and just another reminder, this is the law. It's not something that is enforced or not enforced by certain people who swear an oath to uphold it and not others. And I'm going to begin by talking about the fact that everyone in our government swears an oath to uphold the Constitution. However, in just a couple minutes, I'll explain to you how none of them actually do. And this is because I, unlike any of the other candidates who run this government, understand and comprehend who these government officials are. C.T. Woody, he's not any sort of mastermind of the jail or the legal system. He's just a goon. He's a control puppet of the institutions that control the government. And when one has to find out where that comes from, all one has to do is follow the money. And in the city of Richmond, the Federal Reserve Bank is located. That is the institution that controls the regional money, which touches on our issues like poverty and the money trail behind why it's beneficial for people like my opponents to lock people up. But the real criminals are in the Federal Reserve Bank building, or the Tom Farrell who pulls the strings on C.T. Woody, the mayor, the so-called mayor, Dwight Jones, and everyone else in government. These people don't think for themselves. They don't say, oh, I'm swearing an oath to uphold the Constitution. They say, I'm just going to follow orders. Well, I'm not going to follow orders from anybody but the people, which is what this document says, that none of my opponents will even talk about, even though our office is called Constitutional Office. It's important. Yes, the jail is part of the duties of the sheriff. Yes, civil, providing paperwork for civil procedures, that's part of the office of the sheriff. But the number one part of being the sheriff is upholding the Constitution of the United States of America, and that means upholding the rights of all of its citizens. And what's happening now is the citizens don't have any rights. And the controlled government gives lip service that everyone with a discerning mind knows is dissembling. Other people may, know it as, outright lying. Because what I know is that we need to change the way our government functions. All of my opponents have worked inside this unpopular government. What is it, 80% of the population of the United States dislikes the way the government is handling their lives? If that's the case, I'm going to win in a landslide. But we have people who lie out there, who lie about what it is that they're doing. And they lie, usually, for the incentive of money. And when I'm sheriff, I'm going to take a pay cut. I'm not going to hire family members. I'm the only candidate who has said that they're going to take a pay cut. Now, I'm the only one that I believe that is not going to hire family members. So, we can have a corrupt criminal system, which is what we have now. Criminal. Clearly there are violations of the law. I provided proof. This is a release paper from Levante Lewis. He was in the Richmond jail and the Henrico jail. And in it, and I showed it to members of the media, put it out to dozens of people. His I guess, caretakers are telling him after he was beaten to death, or nearly to death, multiple times, this was on the front page of the Richmond Times-Dispatch, that he was signing away all of his constitutional rights. It's right here. It's all over the internet. The reporter from the Times-Dispatch has seen it. Miss Irving has seen it. All the candidates have been presented this by me, right to their face, with pictures of Levante Lewis, his bloodied and puffed up face, and this is what my opponents stand for: a criminal and corrupt system. And if you're against criminal and corrupt system, you only have one choice: vote for Chris Dorsey. The treasurer is not going to help you out. The Commonwealth's attorney is not going to help you out. None of my opponents are going to help you out. If you don't like the corruption and the criminal nature of government, vote for me. It's your only choice.
Thank you,
All right.
candidate Dorsey.
That's
We'll
right.
give you 2 minutes to, if you want to go straight to questioning, if you, okay. They want to go straight to questions. Yeah, if you want to go straight to questions, you have 10 minutes. 5 minutes. Thank you, candidate. Questions?
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask this. Mr. Dorsey, I would like, you mentioned the Constitution, and I would like for you to read the little part about being endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights.
Yes, sir.
And as most people do, don't forget the second part.
Yeah, I'm getting to that, sir.
And it's about the system that you're correctly saying that it's unlawful?
Mm-hmm.
And what must be done?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, referencing the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, which is the first law of the United States. That's the first law. The first law of the United States is the Declaration of Independence. And I thank you, sir, because this is the basis. This is the basis of my campaign for sheriff. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles as organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
Thank you, candidate Dorsey.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Anybody else have a question? We have 4 minutes. I'll keep it brief. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. My question is for candidate Dorsey. You keep referencing the Constitution. And from my understanding of the Constitution, it allows states to make certain laws, which are state codes, which are laws. But you're saying that these codes are unlawful and are illegal, and that you will not enforce these laws.
That's correct.
Then why are you running for sheriff? The job of the sheriff is to enforce the laws of the state of Virginia, and you serve as a constitutional officer of the state constitution of Virginia, which these laws derive from. If you're not going to enforce them, then why are you wasting the people's time running for sheriff?
Well, that's a good question, but I think maybe you have the word laws and unlawful codes and statutes confused. Now, the law of Virginia is the Virginia Constitution. So, if there are codes and statutes of the state of Virginia, like there are in all states, prohibiting things like driving on a suspended license or possession of marijuana, then those are not violations of the law. They are violations of unlawful codes and or unlawful statutes. So I'm actually doing the opposite of wasting the people's time. I'm just simply saying that according to this document and redundancy, and I could say the Virginia Constitution, which the first part of the Virginia Constitution is the Virginia Declaration of Rights, which is taken from, or the Virginia Declaration of Rights is exactly stating the same thing as the last part of the Declaration of Independence that I said, or that I read, I should say. Excuse my mumbling of words. All power is vested and derived from the people. That's what the Virginia Declaration of Rights says. And there's nothing in the Virginia Constitution which prohibits driving on a suspended license, not paying a court fee, or possessing marijuana that will wind you up in jail. But yet, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people have been through these judicial system while my opponents have been not doing their job and upholding the Constitution. But what I'm saying is that I will. If no one else will, I will uphold the law.
Thank you, candidate Dorsey. Last question.
Yes.
We have one more person, so we only got 30 seconds for this question.
All right.
Another 30.
Mr. Dorsey, for those that don't know, I am his campaign manager, and I am very proud. And I want to ask you this, Chris Dorsey, because I know that you are a man of God, you're God-fearing, and you care more about our people of color than some of them do themselves. What will you do, Mr. Dorsey, Chris, to immediately reduce the population in the city jail? We know that more than 3/4 of the people are locked up for false crimes by these judicial system.
Sure.
What will you do to help free our people up so they can be with their families, their loved ones?
Yeah, I simply stated, again, enforce the law. Enforce the law. End the unconstitutional war on drugs in the city. My opponents are drug warriors. They make their money off of locking people up. In a war, in a declared war against the American people, we will end the war on drugs in the city of Richmond. We'll end it once and for all. The people don't like the war on drugs, and we'll end it. No one else can end it but the Richmond City Sheriff, and that's what I will do. Enforce the law. That's simple.
Thank you.
Last question.
Well, I appreciate that, and actually, that was actually my question. Your campaign manager asked my question, but I want you to elaborate on that and tell me if you are the sheriff, how are you going to enforce those laws, being the sheriff?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Because the police, I can't control the police, except for the fact that the Richmond Sheriff is over top of the police chief, because they're elected by the people. I can't control the fact that maybe some people in the RPD who don't understand the Constitution lock people up for possessing weed or possessing heroin that C.T. Woody and the people in the Henrico Sheriff's Department can't even keep out of their own jails. Sheriff's deputies at both places are smuggling drugs into the jail. But what I'm saying is, the police chief and his minions, they can wrongly arrest people for not violating the Constitution and being a victim in the war on drugs, and the judges can illegally convict, but I am the only one that will be able to incarcerate. So we'll set these people free.
How are you going to do that? That's what I'm asking you. How are you going to enforce that? How are you going to not incarcerate someone who a judge sent to the jail for drug possession? How are you going
The sheriff's deputies take the prisoners from the court to the jail. The sheriff's, it's very simple. The sheriff's deputies will simply cease taking these people who are not violating the law to the jail.
When they come to the front door of the sheriff's office, what are you going to do? Are you going to allow them in? Or you're not
What
going
I'm
to?
saying is that in order to go to the jail, one has to be escorted by a sheriff's deputy. The judge does not escort. The Richmond police do not escort. The sheriff's deputies, they escort it, and they will have to uphold the Constitution. And if somebody gets convicted of possession of 2 grams of marijuana, which lots of people languish away at the Richmond City Jail for, and the Henrico Jail for, we will simply take these people and walk them outside after the judge, if in fact the judge has the gall to make an unconstitutional decision when I'm sheriff.
That's right.
That's what I said
That's
in
right.
redundancy. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's right.
Is there anybody else, any other questions? Ms. Irving? Okay, go ahead. I'll give you like 30 seconds each to ask a question, but I promise I have it by 6. Go ahead,
I have a
ma'am.
question for Mr. Dorsey. Mr. Dorsey, can you explain briefly what makes you more qualified than your other opponents to uphold the sheriff of the city of Richmond?
Because I comprehend the law, and actually there's statutes, guidelines, and the law. This is the supreme law, and unlike my opponents, I've actually read this document.
My question was, I understand that, but what makes you qualified from your other opponents to hold this position?
I comprehend what the law is, and I'm willing to execute the law, and I'm a citizen in the state of Virginia who is engaged in the operations of the Richmond city government more than any other person I know.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have one more. Was it one more? Gentlemen, 30 seconds. Go ahead, sir.
Since people are not informed as to the depth of the system that you're talking about, could you give me a definition of the word peonage? Peonage. Where not too long ago, people used to incarcerate people to work for them. Certain workforces.
Slaves.
All through the South, in the North, mostly in the South, especially in this state. So
Free labor.
You can see inmates at the Richmond City Jail working without pay at the Virginia State Capitol, just as they have done for hundreds of years.
Slaves.
That's what they call slavery.
Slaves.
That's what the jail system does. It creates slaves. And that's a violation of the Constitution, as we all know.
That's right.
Okay, guys. Thank you. I want to thank you so much, Ms. Irvin, Ms. Dorsey, Mr. Dorsey coming out. I want everyone to give a please, a round of applause to Tish Couché. I think she did something.
Yes, she did. Bless her heart.
I was so hyped when I was introducing, because I just love my partners and team and stuff, but I introduced everybody else, but I never introduced me. My name is Denise Smith Turner. I'm the CEO and founder of For Colored Girls. I was thinking, if not one candidate showed up today, if not one, it would not make a difference, because the preparation
Come on.
that it took to put this together, the education that the young people that we sought out to make an impact. Ricky, the young ladies who were over here earlier, Shanice, Ray, Tish, all of us, this is our first debate. Probably will be our last, but it was a topic that we chose to deal with politics and government, and we dealt with it, and we put it together in 2.5 weeks. But it's about planting the seed for us. That's all it was about. Planting the seed of our young people so they will take responsibility for their communities in the future. That's all it's about. So I thank you all for coming out, and I hope that I'm so appreciative that the candidates that did show up, and that you will have to take and make what you want to make of it for the candidates that didn't show up.
That's right. Losers.
Thank you everybody for coming out. God bless. For Colored Girls. Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you. Good luck.